The jungle of Nira was alive with sound. Tall trees with silver leaves whispered in the wind, and glowing insects danced between thick vines. Strange birds called from above, their voices echoing like flutes. For most of her people, the jungle was a place of fear. It was dark, dangerous, and filled with predators. But for Lariah, the young alien girl, it was a place of wonder. She moved carefully between the roots, her thin fingers brushing over the glowing moss on the bark. Her skin was pale blue, almost shining under the faint sunlight that slipped through the canopy. Her people were called the Scifi, a gentle race who lived in safe villages far from the wilds. They avoided the jungle, believing it belonged to monsters. But Lariah was curious. She wanted to see what was beyond the safe paths. She wanted to hear the forest's true voice. That morning she had slipped away from her village. She carried no weapon, only a small crystal light to guide her path, and a pouch of dried fruit for food. She thought she would return before anyone noticed she was gone. At first the jungle seemed peaceful. She watched insects crawl over branches, listened to frogs sing near a muddy pool, and even smiled at a pair of lizards chasing each other. She whispered to herself, "See? Nothing to fear." But then the ground trembled. Lariah froze. At first she thought it was thunder, but the sky was clear. Another tremor shook the soil beneath her feet. Birds exploded from the trees in a sudden storm of wings. Something heavy was moving, pushing through the forest with terrifying force. Her heart began to pound. She turned to run, but before she could, the trees in front of her cracked apart. From the shadows came a massive serpent. Its scales were black and green, its body thicker than any tree trunk. Its head rose high above her, with eyes like glowing coals and fangs long as spears. The villagers called it the Devourer, the ancient predator of the jungle. Few had seen it and lived. Lariah stumbled backward, her crystal light falling into the mud. The serpent's tongue flicked out, tasting her fear. With a hiss that shook the air, it lunged. She screamed and ran, her feet slipping on wet leaves. The monster's body crashed through trees behind her, snapping branches like twigs. She darted between roots, trying to escape, but the serpent was faster. Its shadow fell over her as it struck again. She tripped, falling onto the ground. She looked up, trembling, as the serpent opened its jaws wide, ready to swallow her whole. And then, a thunderous sound split the air. The serpent jerked back, its scales rippling as something struck it. Lariah blinked in shock. A ball of fire exploded against the beast's head, forcing it to recoil. From the trees stepped figures she had never seen before. They were not Scifi. Their skin was strange, some pale, some dark, some bronze. They wore rough clothes, heavy boots, and strange packs on their backs. In their hands they carried objects that spat fire and smoke. Humans. The serpent hissed, turning its rage toward them. One of the humans shouted, "Keep firing!" His voice was loud, commanding. The others obeyed, their weapons roaring again. Bright flashes lit the jungle as they drove the monster back. The serpent struck at them, its tail whipping through the trees. One human was thrown to the ground but quickly rolled aside, avoiding the crushing strike. Another hurled a burning stick. Fire caught on the serpent's scales, making it thrash wildly. Lariah could not believe her eyes. Her people would have fled. No Scifi would ever face such a beast. But these strangers did not run. They fought. The serpent reared up, its body towering like a living mountain. With a furious hiss, it slammed down toward the humans. One of them, a woman with dark hair tied back, yelled, "Now, light it!" Another human struck something against a rock and sparks ignited a strange container. He threw it at the serpent's head. A second later, it exploded in a burst of fire and smoke. The serpent screamed, its massive form twisting as flames licked its scales. It turned, crashing through the forest in retreat. Trees fell, the ground shook, and then the monster was gone. Sliding into the dark depths of the jungle, the humans lowered their weapons, breathing hard. Smoke hung in the air. Lariah was still on the ground, shaking, unable to move. One of the humans noticed her. He walked forward slowly, raising his hands to show he carried no threat. He had brown skin, short black hair, and eyes sharp but kind. "Easy," he said softly. "You're safe now." Lariah stared at him, her lips trembling. What are you?" The man gave a small smile. "Humans. And you?" She swallowed. "Scifi." The other humans gathered, curious. Some looked tired, others grinned as if they had just finished a great challenge. "Poor kid," one muttered. "Snake nearly had her." The dark-haired woman knelt beside Lariah, offering her a flask of water. "Drink. You need it." Lariah hesitated. Her people had always said humans were reckless outsiders, dangerous and unpredictable. But these humans had saved her. Slowly she reached out and took the flask, drinking. The cool water. Her voice shook as she whispered, You fought it. You did not run." The woman raised an eyebrow. "Why would we run? It was trying to eat you." But no one can fight the devourer," Lariah said, eyes wide. "My people say the jungle belongs to it." The humans exchanged looks. One of them chuckled. "Well, your people haven't met us yet." The leader, the brown-skinned man, extended a hand to her. "Come on, you shouldn't be out here alone." Lariah hesitated, then placed her hand in his. His grip was strong, steady. He pulled her to her feet. "Name's Captain Reyes," he said. "We're explorers. Ship crashed a few weeks ago, so we're stuck here for now." "Lariah," she whispered. Reyes gave a nod. "Nice to meet you, Lariah. Don't worry, we'll get you back safe." As they led her through the jungle toward their camp, Lariah kept glancing at them. They laughed even after facing death, carried strange weapons that roared like thunder, and walked with the calm of hunters who feared nothing. In her heart, a spark of wonder grew. For the first time, she thought maybe the serpent wasn't the strongest thing in the jungle. Maybe it was the humans. The humans' camp was unlike anything Lariah had seen before. It sat in a clearing surrounded by tall trees, with makeshift walls built from logs and sheets of strange material. Inside the camp were tents, boxes, and metal objects that gave off soft light. A fire burned in the center, sending smoke into the night sky. Lariah's people never built fires. They feared fire almost as much as the jungle itself. To her, the flames looked alive, but the humans sat around it calmly, cooking food over the heat as if it were their friend. She followed Captain Reyes and the others inside. Every step she took was full of hesitation. The humans were loud, laughing, and speaking quickly to each other. Their voices carried a confidence she had never heard before. One of the men, tall with a scar on his cheek, handed her a plate. "Here, eat." On the plate was meat roasted over the fire. The smell made her stomach twist with hunger. She had eaten only dried fruit all day, still she hesitated. Scifi never cooked meat. They ate fruits, roots, and soft plants. But her hunger won. Slowly she took a bite, her eyes widened. The taste was unlike anything she had known, warm, rich, and filling. The scarred man chuckled. "Not bad, huh?" She nodded quickly, cheeks flushing. It is strong food." "That's why we eat it," another said with a grin. "Keeps us going." The humans laughed together. Their laughter was strange, deep and rough. But there was warmth in it. For the first time since the serpent attack, Lariah felt a small piece of safety. Later, as the fire burned lower, Captain Reyes sat across from her. His eyes studied her carefully, not unkindly, but sharp, as though he wanted to understand everything. "You shouldn't have been out there alone," he said. Lariah lowered her gaze. "I wanted to see the jungle. My people never go there." "Because of that thing?" Reyes asked. She nodded. "The devourer. It has hunted us for generations. We stay far away. The jungle belongs to it." Reyes leaned back, crossing his arms. "Doesn't look like it belongs to the snake anymore." She looked at him in disbelief. "But you fought it. You made it run. No one does that." He gave a small shrug. "On Earth, we've got predators too. Lions, bears, wolves, bigger things even. You don't survive by running forever. Sometimes you have to fight. His words sank deep into her mind. Her people believed survival meant hiding, avoiding danger, never taking risks. But these humans, they met danger head-on. She whispered, almost to herself, "You are not afraid." Reyes gave a short laugh. "Oh, we're afraid. Fear keeps you sharp, but we don't let it rule us." Over the next days, Lyraya stayed with the humans. They gave her a small tent near theirs, shared food, and showed her strange tools. She watched them with wide eyes as they worked. They sharpened metal blades, cleaned their weapons, and built traps around the camp. One morning, she watched two of them spar with sticks, moving fast, striking and blocking. When they finished, one of them noticed her watching. "Want to try?" he asked, holding out a stick. Lyraya blinked. "Me?" "Yeah, you. Come on." At first she refused, but the humans encouraged her. Nervously, she took the stick and stood opposite him. He moved slowly at first, showing her how to hold it, how to swing, how to block. Her hands trembled, but each time she tried, she grew steadier. The humans cheered when she managed a proper strike. Their voices filled her with a strange warmth. People would never train like this. They would tell her to stay safe, to avoid danger. But the humans were teaching her how to face it. At night, the campfire became a place of stories. The humans told tales of their world, of deserts wider than seas, mountains taller than the sky, and beasts that hunted men. One man described climbing a frozen peak where the air was thin and death was always near. Another spoke of diving into oceans where creatures with teeth longer than arms swam below. Lyraya listened in awe. To her, humans seemed fearless travelers, walking where no one dared. "Why do you go to such places?" she finally asked. The scarred man grinned. "Because they're there, because we want to see what's beyond the next hill, because we don't like being told don't go." She shook her head slowly. "My people say the world outside the villages is death." Reyes poked the fire with a stick. "Maybe that's why they never see more than their villages." His words stung, but also stirred something inside her. Was it possible her people were wrong? One afternoon, while collecting water with two humans near a river, they found signs of the serpent. Trees bent, soil torn apart, massive tracks pressed into the ground. Lyraya's breath caught. "It is hunting again," the humans crouched to study the tracks. One cursed softly, Reyes later explained. "That thing's not just a big snake. It's unnatural. Too big, too strong. Feels like something was done to it. Maybe experiments." Lyraya frowned. "You mean it was made?" "Or changed," Reyes said. His voice was hard. "Whatever the case, it's dangerous, and it's not going to stop until someone puts it down." Her chest tightened. To her people, such words were unthinkable. You didn't fight the devourer. You avoided it. But looking at Reyes and his crew, she realized the humans meant it. They would not run. They would fight. That evening, she could not sleep. She sat near the fire, staring into the flames. One of the humans, the dark-haired woman named Sarah, joined her. "You're thinking about the snake," Sarah said softly. Lyraya nodded. "It is too strong. No one can stop it." Sarah's eyes glimmered in the firelight. "You saw it. We made it run. It can be hurt. It can be killed. But why do you risk yourselves? It is not your jungle." Sarah's lips curved into a small smile. "Because we don't let monsters rule the world. Where we come from, if something threatens our people, we fight back. That's just what humans do." Her words sent a shiver through Lyraya. She whispered, I wish I was like that." Sarah placed a hand on her shoulder. "You can be. Stick with us. Learn. You'll see." The next morning, training began. At first, it was simple. How to hold a knife, how to watch the ground for signs of danger, how to run quietly through the forest. The humans were patient, correcting her, stance showing her again and again until she did it right. They even gave her a small weapon, a short blade sharp as glass. At first she could barely lift it with steady hands, but slowly she learned. When she made mistakes, they did not scold her. They laughed, encouraged, and told her she was getting better. Each day her fear grew smaller, replaced by something new, confidence. One night as they sat around the fire, a distant roar echoed through the jungle. The serpent. The humans fell silent, their eyes sharp. Liraya's hands trembled, but this time she did not feel like running. She felt something different. She looked at Reyes and Sarah, then at the scarred man sharpening his blade. Humans did not flee. They faced danger. And slowly, she was learning to do the same. Inside her heart, a decision was forming. She would not be the frightened girl who ran from shadows. She would be someone stronger, someone who could fight back. The jungle was restless. For days, the humans had noticed strange signs. Broken trees, crushed paths, and the remains of animals dragged into the shadows. The serpent was hunting more often, and each time it struck, it grew bolder. One afternoon, a Sherry scout ran into the humans' camp, breathless and terrified. His pale face shook as he cried, "The devourer! It came to the edge of our village. It destroyed our outer homes." Liraya's heart stopped. Her village. Her family. Captain Rhea stood at once. "Show us." The scout trembled. No, you must stay away. If you go closer, you will die. The devourer cannot be stopped. We must abandon the village and flee." Reyes narrowed his eyes. "And where will you run? How many villages will you leave behind before there's nowhere left?" The scout had no answer. He only shook his head and fled back toward safety. Liraya looked at Reyes, her voice shaking. "He speaks truth. My people will not fight. They will leave everything behind." Reyes clenched his jaw. "Then they'll keep running until there's nothing left. That's no way to live." The humans moved quickly. They packed supplies, sharpened weapons, and prepared traps. Liraya watched them, torn between fear and admiration. To them, the serpent was not a god or curse. It was simply an enemy to defeat. Sarah came to her side. "Are you ready to see the truth?" Liraya swallowed, hard. "The truth?" "That monster isn't invincible," Sarah said. "It just hasn't met the right fight yet." They marched through the jungle. The humans moved with practiced steps, quiet and alert. Liraya followed close, her heart hammering. She had never walked this deep before. When they reached the village, her breath caught. Homes lay broken, smashed into splinters. Crops were crushed under the serpent's massive coils. The ground was torn as if a storm had passed. Families huddled together, their faces pale with terror. Her mother spotted her. "Liraya!" They embraced, but her mother's voice shook. "You should not be here. The devourer will return. We must leave." "No," Liraya said firmly, surprising herself. "We cannot run forever. We must fight." Her mother stared at her, horrified. "Fight? Liraya, you speak madness. The devourer cannot be killed." Behind her, Reyes stepped forward. "It can. We've faced it before and we'll face it again, but we'll need help." The Scifi villagers murmured in fear. Some backed away. None stepped forward. "They won't fight," Liraya whispered bitterly. Reyes looked at her with steady eyes. "Then it's up to us." That night, the humans began preparing. They worked by firelight, digging pits, sharpening spikes, and setting strange containers filled with flammable liquid. They explained everything to Liraya. "The beast is huge," Reyes said, drawing in the dirt. "We can't fight it head-on for long. So we use brains, not just strength. We trap it, weaken it, and strike where it's vulnerable." Sarah added, "Every monster has weak spots, even this one." Liraya listened carefully. For the first time, she was not afraid of their strange talk. She wanted to learn. "Show me what I can do," she said. Sarah handed her a torch. "You'll help lure it. The snake fears fire, but it also hates it. We'll make it chase us right where we want." Liraya's hands trembled, but she nodded. The next day the serpent came. It slithered into the ruins of the village with a hiss that made the earth shake. Its body coiled between houses, its eyes glowing with hunger. The villagers screamed and scattered, running into the forest. The serpent struck, smashing a home to pieces with one blow. Reyes shouted, "Now!" The humans lit torches and hurled fire into its path. Explosions rang out as their strange containers ignited, filling the air with smoke and flame. The serpent roared, swinging its massive tail. Liraya felt the ground quake beneath her feet. Fear clawed at her chest, but she held her torch high, running where the humans had shown her. The beast turned, its gaze fixing on her. Her blood went cold. It was chasing her. "Here!" Reyes shouted. "Keep it coming!" Liraya ran toward the pit trap, her legs burning. The serpent surged after her, its jaws snapping shut just behind her. She dove aside at the last moment, rolling across the dirt. The serpent crashed forward and fell. Its body slammed into the pit filled with sharpened spikes. The ground shook violently. The beast thrashed and raged, its scales pierced by wood and stone. "Hit it again," Reyes roared. The humans hurled fire and explosives, the air filling with thunder. The serpent screamed, its coils writhing, smashing trees to splinters. Liraya stared in awe. The beast was bleeding. It was hurt. It was not invincible. But the serpent was not defeated. With a terrible roar, it pulled itself free from the pit, its scales torn and burning. Its eyes blazed with fury. It struck like lightning, its tail whipping through the humans' defenses. One man was thrown into a wall, another barely rolled aside. Reyes cursed. "It's tougher than we thought." The serpent reared up, towering above them all. Its jaws opened wide. Liraya's breath caught. For a moment, terror returned. But then she remembered Sarah's words. "You can be strong. Stick with us. Learn." She raised her torch high, running to the serpent's side. "Over. Here!" she shouted. The beast turned toward her, distracted. That gave Reyes the moment he needed. He lit the largest explosive and hurled it directly into the serpent's open jaws. The blast shook the earth. Fire burst from the creature's mouth as it screamed in pain, reeling backward. The humans charged, stabbing and striking with all their strength. Liraya slashed with her small blade, striking its wounded scales. The serpent roared, retreating once more into the dark jungle. Its massive body tore through the forest until it disappeared from sight. Silence fell. The humans stood panting, weapons in hand. Smoke drifted over the ruined village. Reyes wiped sweat from his brow. "We hurt it bad, but it's not dead yet." Liraya trembled, still gripping her torch. She looked at the retreating path of destruction and whispered, "It can be killed. I saw it bleed." Sarah placed a hand on her shoulder. "You were brave. Without you, it wouldn't have worked." For the first time in her life, Liraya felt pride. Not fear, not shame, but pride. She had faced the devourer and lived. But deep inside, she also knew the fight was far from over. The serpent would return. And next time, it would be even more dangerous. She looked at Reyes. "What do we do now?" He met her gaze, his eyes sharp. "Now we finish this. Once and for all." The Scifi villagers crept back from hiding, their faces full of shock. They had seen everything. They had seen humans wound the monster that had ruled their lives for centuries. Whispers spread. It bled. They fought it. They made it run. For the first time, doubt entered their hearts. Maybe the devourer was not a god. Maybe it could be defeated. Liraya stood before them, torch still in hand, her voice steady. "You saw it. The humans are not afraid. They fought when we only ran. If we want to live, we must fight too." Her people stared at her in silence. Some lowered, their eyes still bound by fear. But others, especially the young, looked at her with something new in their eyes. Hope. That night, as the humans repaired their camp and prepared new traps, Liraya sat with them by the fire. Her heart was still pounding from the battle, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. She was no longer the girl who wandered into the jungle out of curiosity. She was becoming something else, a fighter. The jungle was quiet that morning, but the air felt heavy. Lyraya moved through the clearing alongside Captain Reyes and the other humans, carrying her small blade tightly in her hand. Every step reminded her of the destruction the Devourer had caused. Trees were flattened, animal tracks everywhere, and distant ruins of villages hinted at what could happen again if they failed. Reyes stopped near a fallen log, looking at the paths the serpent had used. "It's smarter than we thought," he said. "It's learning. We need more than fire and brute force, we need strategy." Lyraya nodded. Her training with the humans had given her courage, but now she realized courage alone was not enough. She had to be clever. Sarah joined them, carrying a satchel filled with small explosive devices. "We've prepared traps along its expected path," she said. "Spikes, pits, and fire lines, but we need to lure it where we want." Lyraya swallowed. Her hands shook slightly. I can do that." Reyes looked at her sharply. "You understand this is dangerous?" She nodded firmly. "I want to help. I've been learning. I can lead it." He hesitated, then finally said, "All right, but we all move together. If anything goes wrong, we retreat. Agreed?" The humans nodded, forming a tight group around her. Hours passed as they moved silently through the jungle. Lyraya used her knowledge of the paths to guide them through narrow trails and hidden clearings. She pointed out signs of the serpent's movement: broken branches, disturbed soil, and faint glistening scales. "They've never seen humans fight like this," she whispered to Sarah. Sarah smiled faintly. "And now they're about to see Sherry fight too." Lyraya's heart leaped. The thought of her people seeing her as strong and brave gave her courage she had never felt before. The trap was set. The humans had dug pits, lined them with spikes, and hidden explosives. They had set fire lines that could slow the serpent and force it into their chosen area. Lyraya stood at the center, torch in hand. The humans positioned themselves on higher ground, ready to strike. "Remember," Reyes said, "don't let it see hesitation. You lead it, we follow, and we hit it hard. Timing is everything." Lyraya nodded, gripping her torch tightly. A distant roar echoed through the jungle. The Devourer was near. Her stomach tightened. Her palms were sweaty, but she held her head high. Then it appeared. The serpent slithered into the clearing, its massive body coiling and uncoiling. Its eyes blazed with fury, its fangs dripping venom. It had grown since the last encounter. Every scale looked sharper, every movement faster, more deadly. The humans held their positions, watching carefully. Lyraya stepped forward. "Over here," she shouted, waving her torch. The serpent's gaze fixed on her. It hissed, the sound deep and terrifying, shaking the ground beneath her feet. She ran, keeping just ahead of it, leading it toward the trap. Every step required perfect timing. Too fast and the serpent could escape. Too slow and it might strike her. Behind her, the humans ignited the fire lines. The flames licked the jungle floor, forcing the serpent to follow Lyraya. She darted left and right, using her knowledge of the jungle paths. The serpent followed, striking at her repeatedly, missing by inches. Her heart pounded, but her mind stayed focused. She remembered the humans' training, the way Sarah had shown her to read the predator's movements, to anticipate its strikes. Finally, they reached the first pit. Lyraya jumped aside as the serpent lunged. Its massive body slammed into the pit, its scales scraping against the spikes. It roared in anger, thrashing violently. "Good," Reyes shouted. "Keep it moving." Lyraya ran onward, leading the serpent, toward the explosives. The creature, furious and in pain, followed her blindly, smashing trees and crushing plants. She turned to see the humans ready with their devices. Reyes nodded, giving the signal. "Now!" Explosions erupted, fire and smoke, filling the clearing. The serpent screamed, its body writhing, thrashing against the traps. Lyraya dodged falling branches and splinters, her pulse racing. But the serpent was clever. With a sudden strike, It lunged toward the humans, aiming to escape the trap. Fall. Back, Rhea shouted. Lyraya froze. This was the moment she had feared. If she retreated, the serpent would escape. If she stayed, she risked her life. Then she remembered what Sarah had said. You can be strong. Stick with us. Learn. She raised her torch high and shouted, Come this way. The serpent's gaze fixed on her again. She led it through a narrow passage lined with spikes and hidden explosives. Each step required perfect timing, each breath a test of courage. The humans attacked, striking at its weak points with precision. Lyraya watched, her heart racing, and noticed the serpent slowing. It was wounded, exhausted, struggling against the combined strategy. This was her chance. She ran ahead, toward a narrow ravine. The serpent followed, its massive body scraping the sides. Lyraya jumped aside, rolling to safety as the humans triggered the final explosive. The blast hit the serpent directly, throwing it off balance. Lyraya saw her moment. She ran forward, blade in hand, and struck at its exposed underbelly. The serpent screamed, thrashing violently. Lyraya dodged its tail, struck again and again until the creature's strength began to fail. The humans joined her, striking in unison. Fire, spikes, and steel combined with her cunning. Finally, the serpent let out a final roar, its massive body collapsing with a shuddering crash. Silence fell over the jungle. Lyraya sank to her knees, breathing hard. Her body ached, but her heart was full. She had faced the devourer, led it into the trap, and delivered the decisive strike. Reyes approached, his expression a mixture of pride and exhaustion. You did it, Lyraya. You led it. Without you, we wouldn't have succeeded. Sarah smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. You were incredible, brave, smart, everything we hoped for. Lyraya looked at the fallen serpent, its massive form still and lifeless. A feeling of triumph surged through her. But more than that, she felt something new. Confidence. She had not just survived. She had fought. She had led. The Scifi villagers emerged from hiding, staring in disbelief. They had never seen anything like it. The serpent that had ruled their lives, terrorized their villages, and killed their people was gone. And it was not just the humans who had defeated it. It was the alien girl, one of their own, who had led the fight. Her mother stepped forward, tears in her eyes. Lyraya, you. Lyraya stood tall, holding her torch high. We cannot live in fear anymore. We can fight, we can protect ourselves, we can survive. Her people whispered among themselves, some in awe, some in disbelief. But the seed of courage had been planted. Reyes turned to the villagers. This jungle is dangerous, but now you've seen what can be done when courage and cleverness come together. You don't have to hide anymore. Lyraya's heart swelled with pride. The humans had taught her to face fear, and now she had shown her people that it was possible. The jungle, once a place of terror, now seemed alive with possibility. As night fell, the humans and Lyraya stood together, surveying the jungle. Fires from the traps still smoldered, casting shadows on the fallen trees and ruined villages. We did it, Lyraya whispered. It's finally over. Reyes shook his head. Not entirely. There will always be danger. But today, you proved something important. You proved that courage, planning, and teamwork can overcome even the greatest threat. Lyraya looked at him, smiling. And humans helped me see it. Sarah joined them, smiling warmly. And you helped us see it too. You're a leader, Lyraya. Never forget that. For the first time, she truly believed it. She had turned the tables on the devourer, not just with fire and steel, but with her mind and heart. The jungle was quiet now. The serpent was gone. But the lesson would remain. Courage and unity could defeat even the most terrifying monsters. Lyraya looked at the stars through the broken canopy. Tomorrow, the jungle would be alive with possibility, and she would be ready. The jungle was quiet, but the silence was different this time. It was not tense or fearful. It was calm, almost respectful. The trees, scorched and broken from the battle, swayed gently in the wind, and faint streams of smoke rose from the traps that had been set and destroyed during the fight. Lyraya walked through the clearing, feeling the weight of what had happened. The devourer was gone, finally gone, and she could feel the pulse of the jungle settling back into rhythm. She carried her small blade at her side, its tip still stained from the serpent, and her heart still raced from the battle. But now, the rush was different. It was pride, confidence, something she had never felt before. Her mother approached her slowly, eyes wide. "Lyraya, you led them. You killed it." Lyraya shook her head. "I didn't kill it alone. The humans helped. They showed me courage. And I learned to be brave." Her mother's voice trembled. "Your people, they will never forget this. You've changed everything." Lyraya looked out over the forest, where the villagers had begun to gather. Some were examining the damage, others were helping rebuild what they could. Their faces, once pale with fear, now carried a mix of awe and hope. For the first time, Lyraya felt the stirrings of leadership. She had always been curious, always wanted to explore, but now she realized she could do more. She could inspire others. She could change her people's way of thinking. The humans gathered near the largest clearing. Captain Reyes wiped sweat and dirt from his face. He looked at Lyraya and smiled. "You were incredible today. I've fought dangerous things before, but you led this fight with your head and heart." Sarah stepped forward, her dark hair glinting in the sun. "We've seen humans do amazing things, but seeing you, a Shari girl, learn, adapt, fight, that was extraordinary." Lyraya felt warmth rush to her cheeks. She had not thought of herself as extraordinary. She had only wanted to survive. But now, standing among the humans, she realized she had done something that no one in her village had thought possible. The other humans nodded, some patting her on the back, some smiling warmly. For them it was another victory, another day of survival. But for Lyraya it was something much more. The villagers approached slowly, still wary. One young boy, barely older than Lyraya herself, stepped forward. "Did you really fight it?" he asked, his voice trembling. Lyraya knelt slightly, meeting his wide eyes. "Yes, but it wasn't just me. The humans helped. They showed me how to fight, how to think fast, and how to be brave." The boy's eyes lit up. "I want to be brave too." Her heart lifted. "You can. All of you can. You just have to try. Don't be afraid of the jungle. Don't be afraid of danger. There are ways to survive. There are ways to fight back." A murmur ran through the villagers. Some shook their heads, some nodded slowly. But the spark had been lit. They had seen courage with their own eyes. They had seen what was possible when fear was met with determination. The humans began helping the villagers rebuild. They showed them how to repair homes, set small traps for safety, and even light fire safely to keep predators away. Lyraya assisted them, showing the Ciari children how to hold sticks, how to observe the jungle, and how to stay alert. Each day, the villagers grew bolder. They began walking along paths they had once avoided. They looked at the forest with curiosity instead of fear. And every time they did, Lyraya felt a quiet joy. She had helped them change. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky with golden red, Captain Reyes called Lyraya aside. "You've done something remarkable here," he said, voice soft. "Most humans would never take the time to help another species, especially one that doesn't even fight back. But you've proven humans and Ciari can work together." Lyraya looked at him, her small hands clenched. "I didn't do it alone. They showed me how to be brave, and they trusted me. That made all the difference." Reyes nodded. "It did. And you've taught us something too. Courage isn't just about strength, it's about heart, intelligence, and spirit. You have all of that." She smiled faintly, the weight of the compliment settling in. For the first time, she saw herself differently. not as a frightened girl but as someone capable of leadership and action. As night fell, the jungle came alive with sounds of life returning. Birds sang cautiously from the branches, insects hummed, and distant howls were quieter, less threatening. The battle had left scars, but it had also restored balance. Liraya stood with Sarah and Reyes, looking out over the jungle. "Do you think it's really gone?" she asked. Reyes shrugged. "Predators never truly disappear, but we've shown that nothing is invincible. Courage, teamwork, and strategy, that's how life survives." Sarah placed a hand on Liraya's shoulder. "And you've shown your people that too. That's more important than any battle." Liraya looked down at her hands, still trembling slightly. "I never thought I could be like this, brave, strong." "You are," Sarah said firmly. "And now your people will follow your example." The villagers gathered for a meeting the next day. Liraya stood in the center, her torch in hand, as the humans stood behind her. She looked at the faces of her people, some skeptical, some fearful, some curious, and she spoke. "The jungle is not just a place of fear," she said. "It is alive, yes, and there are dangers, but we do not have to hide, we do not have to run. We can face danger and we can protect ourselves. Today we fought. Today we survived. Tomorrow we will live boldly, without fear." There was silence for a moment. Then slowly, the villagers began nodding. Children looked at her with wide eyes, inspired by her courage. Adults whispered among themselves, some still unsure but all feeling the shift. Her mother stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "Liraya, you've changed everything. You've changed us. You've shown us what is possible." Liraya's heart swelled. She had never imagined such words could come from her own mother. The humans prepared to leave. Their ship was repaired enough to take them back to the stars. Liraya stood with them at the edge of the camp, looking at the forest they had helped her people defend. Reyes handed her a small device. "Keep this. It's a beacon. If you ever need help, or if danger comes again, you can call for us." Liraya took it, nodding. "Thank you. For everything." Sarah hugged her briefly. "Remember, you're braver than you think. Never forget that." The humans boarded their ship, its engines humming softly. As it lifted off, Liraya waved. She felt a mixture of sadness and gratitude. They had come as strangers, fought as allies, and now they left as heroes in her story. Days passed, and life began to return to normal. Villages were rebuilt, children explored paths they had never dared to take, and the adults began training, themselves, learning from the humans' lessons. Liraya taught them, leading small exercises, showing them how to set traps, how to move quietly, and how to face fears without running. Her people began calling her a leader, not just a girl, and she accepted the role, proud but humble, knowing that leadership was about courage, wisdom, and example. The jungle, once a place of fear and death, became a land of possibility. The memory of the devourer remained, but it was now a story of victory, not despair. One evening, Liraya sat on a high cliff overlooking the jungle, the wind brushing her face. Stars shimmered in the sky and the forest below glowed faintly with bioluminescent life. She thought of the humans, of the lessons they had taught her, of the courage she had found in herself. She whispered to the night, "Thank you for showing me bravery, for showing my people hope." And in that moment she understood something deeply. The strength of humans was not just in their weapons or fire, but in their spirit. They had fought, they had survived, and they had inspired. She smiled, looking down at the paths she had cleared and the villages she had helped protect. The Scifi would no longer live in fear. They would explore, learn, and grow. And she would lead them into a future where courage, unity, and hope guided every step. The jungle was alive. And so was she. For Liraya, for her people, and for the humans who had shown them the way, a new era had begun.